Welcome to Module 4, Lesson 7. This is about take 10, so I'm hoping this format works. I wanted to kind of go live so that you guys can see me and we can work together as we try to get through Module today. Today's focus is going to be on a book called Maggie, the One-Eyed Peregrine Falcon, and we're going to have some learning targets. The first learning target is going to be focusing on vocabulary. You're going to use evidence from the text to try to figure out unknown vocabulary words. The second target is going to be reading this book and telling the characters, the setting, and what the problem of the story is. And the third target is going to be some writing where we focus on what the problem of the story is and what happened. So who it happened to and what happened. So 3 targets today: vocabulary, retelling the problem, the setting and the characters, and the third target is going to be doing some independent writing, or actually shared today. We're going to do some shared writing together. So we're going to begin today by reading the story, Maggie the One-Eyed Peregrine Falcon. I'm going to turn the camera down so that you guys can see the book. And this is a story, a true story, of rescue and rehabilitation, written by Christy Goldberg. So again, the story is Maggie the One-Eyed Peregrine Falcon. Here's a picture of Maggie. And we're going to begin by reading. Not all birds live in trees. Maggie is a 2-month-old peregrine falcon, and she is a city bird. She lives in her parents' nest on top of a very tall building. She cannot fly yet, but she loves to see all the action on the busy streets below. So Maggie, our peregrine falcon, lives up here somewhere, and she loves to look down to see all the people in the city below. There's a picture of her as well. Maggie watches her parents dive for the sky to catch food. Mostly they hunt for pigeons. Sometimes they get other birds. 2. Maggie's parents bring the food to the nest for Maggie to eat. Yum! With her tummy full, Maggie exercises. She takes little jumps along the ledge, while opening and closing her wings. When the wind blows under her, she lifts into the air. This feels right. Maggie is almost ready to fly. So the first word, our first vocabulary word today is the word ledge. Based on my background knowledge, I know I have a ledge in my kitchen. I'm actually looking at it right now. So a ledge is kind of like a narrow shelf. So imagine this little bird really high up in the sky, jumping up and down on a narrow ledge. That is her life right now. Here's a picture of Maggie on her first flight. The morning of her first flight is sunny, but breezy. She moves to the edge of the nest and feels the push of the wing along her feathers. Maggie opens her wings and leaps, and flaps, and flies. I bet she's feeling pretty successful. First day of flying. She looks proud. Here's a picture of her around a crane, another clue that we know she lives in a big city. Her heart races. Sounds of the city swirl around her. She soars to the top of a construction crane and lands. There she watches smaller birds fly below. She dreams of catching her own food. The second vocabulary word we're going to focus on is the word smaller. It takes the base word small and adds er. Er always means more of something. So smaller, taller, wider, skinnier. Our penguin is looking at smaller birds, so they're tinier than her. Something terrible, though, happens. Poor Maggie. Let's read what happens. 2 days go by. Maggie practices flying. She leaves the nest to explore. The sun warms her as she glides past buildings. A strong wind lifts her. Maggie starts to turn, but she is pushed sideways by the breeze. Suddenly, in front of her, there is a building. It is close, too close. Crash! Maggie tumbles downward. She falls fast. She cannot stop. I'm hoping Maggie is okay. Let's go ahead and turn the page to find out what happens to Maggie. Looks like she's still alive, so that's good. But doesn't look like she's safe up in her nest. And I see a crate here, an animal crate. And then she is on the ground. The pavement is hot. There are people everywhere. They lean in close. Maggie realizes that her beak hurts. Her eyes aren't working right. What's wrong with her? Maggie cries out in fear and pain. Special people come and pick her up. They seem to know what to do. She is put inside a crate and then taken out of the city. The people move her into a building. They call the place a wildlife hospital. They bring her to a quiet room and lift her from the crate. Maggie shivers in fright. Remember, that means shake. We learned that word last week. They shine a light in her eyes and stretch out her wings. They poke her with something sharp and take pictures of her. Maggie is too tired to fight. She lets them care for her. So here's some up-close pictures of Maggie. I see a clue there of what might be wrong with her. Getting some air. Maybe they had to put her to sleep to check on her. Examining her very closely with a light. And then finally, this looks like a picture of her, maybe eyeball. So they're examining her. Took an x-ray of her. There's that breathing thing we had talked about. And there's our little Maggie right there. Days pass and the doctors keep checking on Maggie. She learns that her left eye was damaged when she hit the building. Plus, the tip of her beak broke off. So 2 major injuries, a beak injury and an eye injury. Luckily, the x-rays show that she didn't break any bones, and her beak will grow back as good as new. But the doctors are worried about her eye. If it doesn't get better, they will have to remove it. If they remove it, Maggie can never return to the wild again. Poor Maggie. So, when we think about this story, there's a couple things we need to talk about. The first thing is, what happened to Maggie? Well, if I think back to the book, Maggie was on her 2nd day of flying, and she was just beginning to learn how to fly, and it was a very, very easy day. And if you look at my picture, you can see she crashed into a building. So that's what happened to her. And then who helped her? Well, remember, some people came with a crate. They were wildlife doctors, veterinarians, who came, and where did they take her? If you guys remember right, I'm kind of crooked. They took her to an animal hospital where they could examine her. So that kind of tells us what happened to Maggie and a little bit about the setting of the story. I think it's really important that we talk about the main characters. So when I think back to the story, of course, the number 1 main character is Maggie. And then the other main characters would be these people that are helping her. So animal doctors. The problem, crashed into the ceiling. Setting. Well, it first started off, this book first started off in the city. And we've left off, we're halfway through, in the animal hospital. So that kind of gives us a little bit of what's heading in the story. Tomorrow we're going to finish the book to find out exactly if Maggie recovers and what happens. So I can't wait to finish the book with you tomorrow. Now you're going to turn to page 59 in your orange module book. So you're going to take out your orange module book and you're going to turn to page 59. Now I've already done this page because, as I said, this is about take 10 of this video. But the questions for us to answer is this. What happened to the bird and why is it a problem? So I'm going to give you a chance to go get page 59 while I'm setting up my paper. So the two questions are, you don't have to write these because this is already on your paper. What happened to the bird and why is this a problem? Today we're actually doing a shared writing where I will write alongside of you. We'll tap out words together, kind of like we do OG. And then I'll give you some time at the end to draw your picture on your own. This is the page that you'll be posting as evidence that you worked with me today. And then you'll also be reflecting on a question. So the question is, what happened to the bird and why is it important? Or why is it a problem? I'm sorry. So our main character is Maggie. I'm just going to take her name and copy it with a capital M because it's a beginning of a sentence. And it's also her name. So Maggie, well, what happened to Maggie? If I use evidence from my text and turn to this page, Maggie crashed into a wall, a building. So that's the problem. So I'm going to write Maggie crashed. Crash. Maggie crashed? No, I wanted the word crashed. I need to add ed. Maggie crashed into two high frequency words put together, in and to, makes a compound word, in and to together. Maggie crashed into a building. I'm going to find the word building in here just to check my spelling using evidence from my text. It's right here. Maggie crashed into a B-U-I-L-D-I-N-G. Maggie crashed into a building, and then what happened to her? We did the first part. Why is it a problem? What did she hurt? Well, I'm going to talk about how she hurt her eye. Maggie crashed into a building, and she, two sight words that you should know how to spell, hurt, you are, burn, bossy R, you are, and she hurt her, E-R, her, another bossy R, and she hurt her. I is a tricky word. Again, I'm going to go back to that page in the text to make sure I spell I right. I know it's the one that had, the picture right here. She hurt her, let's see, she didn't break any eyes. They're worried about her eye, E-Y-E. And she hurt her eye, period. Let's read that sentence and make sure it makes sense. Maggie crashed into a building and she hurt her eye. I have my capital M. I have my finger spaces. I have my ending mark. So I can say my sentence looks pretty good. I think my handwriting looks great. So our sentence is Maggie crashed into a building and she hurt her eye. If you want to get a 4 today, you can go ahead and add the part on your own about her beak and part of it breaking off. That would be how you could push yourself to get a 4. Down below here, I want you to draw a line. On this side, you are going to draw a picture of our friend Maggie and her problem. So you're going to study that picture for a brief moment. Check out those cool looking wings, those sharp talons or claws, and then look at her head. Her head is what crashed into the the building. I wonder if she hit beak first and that's why part of it cracked off. She's lucky she really didn't get injured. Then on this side, you're going to draw a picture of her eye being hurt or her beak being damaged. So maybe you want to draw a picture of her eye being hurt or her beak having part of it broken off. But I do want you to take time to go ahead and do your illustration. And then in the last 30, we're going to reflect on this and post in CSA. The question is, think about a time when you showed compassion or respect, just like the doctors did in Maggie, the One-Eyed Peregrine. Think about a time when you showed compassion or respect. So maybe it was a time when someone, a friend or a parent or a brother or sister got hurt and you had to show compassion or respect for them. Or maybe it was a time that you noticed someone was feeling sad and it was your job or you felt in your heart that you had to show compassion and respect to cheer them up. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. In Seesaw, you'll be posting a picture of your completed Orange Book page. Not sure where my book went. I know I just had it. Oh, right here in front of me. Your completed Orange Book page. And then also reflecting on that question about compassion and respect. I'm hoping this video worked because literally it's been 10 tries. I've learned a lot about technology right along with you during the last couple of the weeks. I do truly love each and every one of you and miss you so very, very much. And I'll see you again soon.